Uh, Sideways, yeah. So we are making these special guitar Sensus, the first real smart guitar in the world, which is like an instrument with an integrated digital audio workstation. It has effects, synthesizers, drum machines, and you control all the stuff with sensors integrated inside, Wi-Fi connectivity. And I would like to talk a lot more about it, but unfortunately I burned the topic because that was actually a discussion I had here at the event 2-3 times ago. But if you want to know more about it, we're going to show it downstairs in the kitchen. Today we just had our first live show, so we just were able to come here after it, and luckily everything went great. Or check out our website. What I might be talking instead is just like a little bit pill of wisdom about how to combine the new hardware, digital hardware, with old school, like some centuries, 1,000 years old hardware, which is like every acoustic body that produces sound waves. And if you want to bridge the two worlds, thanks, what you have to do is give numbers to the acoustic. So basically how to make measurements. And what is that for? One use case is when you want to add some acoustic feeling to a digital instrument. For example, instead of having like a big guitar amplifier, you can just have like the amplifier head and simulate the cabinet with in a digital way. Or instead of adding, you can subtract. So you can subtract and compensate the differences of like non-ideal loudspeaker or other products that you might have. And this is actually a little more tricky than just the simulation case, because this is part science, part art, and part black magic, because it works very well like if you're sitting in a special position, you don't move your head. But to make it work overall, still no one knows like the perfect recipe to do it. Okay, please. Just for the few of you that don't know the full system theory, a short introduction. You have like a system that you want to measure, so you want to find its impulse response H. And in order to do it, you excite the system with a signal, X. You capture the output with a microphone, in this case, because we're talking about acoustic measurements. Use a sound card, preamp, whatever you need. You get into the computer, you get your output signal, Y. Yeah. And then it's on paper pretty simple. So you have Y is the convolution, so H times X, if you want to think it in an oversimplified way. And well, then you want to find H, you basically take the output and you divide it, or more precisely, convolve it with X. So that sounds pretty easy, right? Well, of course, in reality, things get pretty hairy. It works only for linear system. It's a problem which is very sensitive to noise. Basically, because you're dividing, you get all the noise in your input signal. It causes a lot of problem. And even exciting the system, it's not so easy depending on the type of instrument body that you have. And also, if you took a look at the whole chain, you might end up measuring more than what you need. So you might end up measuring also your microphone or your preamp. So you need to be able to just get what you really need. Just a few examples, like real-world examples. The first one is probably the most common. When you want to measure like the impulse response of rooms, like you want to simulate the sound in a cathedral, or in this room, or whatever. And there are various ways to excite a room and to record. So back in the old times, still some days in some situation, you just fire a gun. That sounds like an impulse, and you record that. It's not the best way. Or you can use like a broadband signal out from loudspeaker. So like MLS, that's for maximum length sequence. Or best way to do it, logarithmic sine sweep. This is much better for noise, very easy to do, and kind of works pretty well. If you instead have to measure like an acoustic instrument, like our guitar or a violin, Well, it's a little more difficult because compared to the room, you have to attach something to the instrument. So in our case, we are lucky because we already have a shaker on the body of the guitar. So we're not adding anything. But if you add a shaker to the violin to measure it, well, you're kind of compromising the measurement itself. Or there are some ways like break strings. Last case is actually the one I'm most familiar with. I was working on a physical modeling piano synthesizer before, so I've done like a dozen of measurements of pianos. Biggest one was this one with like 96 simultaneous channels, together with the guy who invented the log sense whip technique. And the piano is a big beast to measure, and just some funny things. So you cannot attach a shaker. You have to use a hammer to hit the points, and you capture this first signal from the hammer. And it's hard to get all the hits equal. So if you don't have a good hand like me, you write a software to analyze and correct the results. The other problem is that the piano has a lot of strings. It's not practical to remove them. You don't want to remove them because otherwise tension changes. So you have to dump the string. And after some trials, we found out that Blue Tack, the things that you use to put the things on the walls, that works fantastic. If you Google it, has amazing sound absorbing properties. And so we bought kilos of that, and like with a rolling pin, like rolling pasta, we were actually dumping the pianos, and that worked very great. Okay, thank you.